Hey everybody, today I had the honor of being a guest on Michaela Paige's Instagram live stream feed. Thank you so much for having me, Michaela. If you don't know who she is a person that I met in 2013. She's an amazing performer. She's been on The Voice in the top 12. She has been on USA Today, Rolling Stones. She's been in all of these amazing things. She also started a campaign called Be You back in 2016. But please check it all out on michaelapage.com. I'll leave the link down here. And please enjoy the interview. It's her story, it's my story. I'm sure you'll get a lot out of it. Enjoy.
What's
Yo,
going on? How are
what's
you?
going on?
Oh man, how is Cali life?
It's actually a beautiful, beautiful day here. Uh,
I feel like the weather has been nice since we haven't been able to go out.
you know what? My wife and I went for a ride around Pasadena. I mean, we just drove around. We didn't stop anywhere. We just drove
Oh
around.
yeah.
She wanted to get out of the house a little, and it's a really gorgeous day. We found some insane, beautiful neighborhoods with like
Awesome.
we were looking at the real estate prices, like $2-3 million homes.
Oh, of course.
Realistic, you know.
Oh yeah. No, I love California. I love it because it's the best of everything. You get the beaches and you get the mountains and you can drive anywhere and the scenery will just take your breath away. My manager actually he has motorcycles, and so a lot of times to beat the traffic we'll go to meetings and stuff on the back. I'll go on the back of the bike, and just being able to see everything, it's amazing. There's nothing like it, which is why real estate is so expensive, because the rest of the world thinks so too.
Yes. What is the? Hang on one second. Let me just change that. Think. There we go. That should be better. I hope. Yes. Great. No more reflection on my face.
Perfect. You
Um.
know,
Yeah.
I've picked the area in my room that is like the best lighting for like this time of day, and I feel like as a 24-year-old white girl, I have a really good tell of what lighting is good.
I dig it. Well, for me, it's the same thing. Like the window's right there. It's a perfect
Oh
time.
yeah. There's nothing like daylight. And I think that people during quarantine have really, kind of going on what you said about getting out and taking a drive. I have never seen more people in my life walking around my neighborhood, just appreciating being outdoors. And I think that something that's really good about this is the fact that people have really been able to see the positive and get back to the little things, get back to the simple things, and take a little bit of a break for themselves and reevaluate where they're at.
Yeah. I mean, it makes you appreciate the little things.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I want to remind everybody to get your questions ready and pop in the chat room. I do have, my own sets of questions, which I find so funny because I've known you. The first time we met was 2013. And the reason I remember it is because I had gotten a call from Blake Shelton on New Year's to do a show for him. And so I was scrambling to get a band together. And middle of January, I get a call from my lawyer, my entertainment attorney, and he said, "Hey, Auto Nation just bought out Marooney. They're doing this big show. They want you to open for Smash Mouth. Do you think you could, do you think you're ready?" And I was like, oh my God. So that show was actually the first show that
That you
my
played
band
with a
had ever
band.
played together.
Wow. That's,
Yeah.
how many rehearsals did you manage to have?
Oh man, as many as we possibly could in the window of time. And I had known the guitar player since high school, and we had a band together years before. And I'd called him on New Year's and said, "I trust you to put a band together." And he pulled it off, and we pulled it off in front of thousands of people. And then, after that show and then Blake Shelton, I was like, well, we're off to a great start. We'll see where we go from here.
It's all downhill from the. No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly. And then the real work began. But it's so crazy to think that, we've known each other, and now being able to kind of get a perspective. It's really cool what you're doing, with these videos that you're publishing about being a touring musician and about, about different things about the industry. And it's great because it provides people insight that they wouldn't otherwise get. And for me, that spurs a lot of motivation and inspiration, just to be able to have that kind of look from a different perspective. It's really, really cool what you're doing. So
Thank you. You know, what's funny is I've been trying to do that for a long time, for a few years now. I've been trying to figure out how I could just, give back to the next generation of musicians, because I do, I'm 40, but I have a good amount of experience, right? So I'm just like, I could really help some artists. But how do I do that? How do I do that? And I was like, should I go talk to schools, or should I do like I just didn't know. But I'm also terrible at public speaking, just awful. So for me, that was like, well, if I make that happen, maybe that would be a good thing, because then I'm conquering a fear. But it also, yeah, that's a hard way to go. And there wasn't that much interest. I don't think necessarily high schoolers are really into like talking about the business, talking about how to make a living as a musician. They just want to rock out and have fun. So maybe talk to people in college. Anyway, the point is, it didn't really happen. And then from here to there, I just started working with a friend of mine who's like, dude, you should be on YouTube. You've got so much knowledge and you've got a personality that could, do well there. And I was like, well, I don't know anything about YouTube, but sure enough. And she's my partner in crime with this whole thing. She's, I just said, well, you seem to know a lot about it. So let's get together. You be the brains behind it. I'll be the whatever. I'll come up with some of the stuff, and let's do it. So far, it's been great. I mean, it's really a way to get to the younger musicians and really let them know what's up, all kinds of things that they should know.
it's hard being young in the industry, because it's really easy for people to think that they can take advantage of you, especially when it comes to contracts and the legalities and registering music and making sure that you've kind of got your butt covered. That's the aspect of it that people don't really think about. And a lot of times people don't think about it until it's too late. And, you've got songs that you've written. I mean, I've been there one too many times in my learning experience, and it's really easy to get caught up in the love of the music and not realize that there are people that want to take advantage of you, but there are also people that want to help you. One of the things that I found really, really interesting yesterday, because you went live yesterday and I popped on there, was you talked about networking. And I found it amazing, the thought that you have about networking, where it's not what can somebody do for me, but what can I do for them. And if you could elaborate on that, that would be amazing.
Sure. I mean, look, networking for me, it comes very naturally. I love talking to people. I love meeting people, whether it's some fan in Sweden that was just in front of me at the Enrique concert, who couldn't care less about meeting me. All they want to do is meet Enrique. But to me, it's fascinating. Everyone's got their own story, how they got there, what they did to get there. And to me, everyone is fascinating. Now, with that in mind, if I can bring value to someone else, be it the smallest little, hey, you came to the Smash Mouth thing, here's a guitar pick, from the guitarist for Smash Mouth. Now, I'm just some dude from Israel. Like, there's nothing special about me. But to them, that moment could mean, it can make their day, their week, their year. I don't know. Maybe it'll inspire them to play guitar or some other instrument. So my whole concept behind networking is bringing some value to other people. Whether it be, like I said, whether it be someone at a very high level or someone at a very, just a fan. They could be 80 years old, they could be 8 years old. If I can put a smile on their face and add something to their life, one way or another, I'm happy. If that somehow comes back to me, awesome. If it doesn't, I really don't care. That's not what it's about.
And I love that. I love that, because I feel like a lot of people get caught up in that. What can this person do for me? Not even just professionally, but just in everyday life. We get caught up in this mindset a lot of times because of all of the outside influence of what can somebody do for me? What are they going to do for me? What can I get out of this? Instead of understanding that, when we give, we get back. Whatever energy that we put out is what we get back. And so people see through the phoniness. I know somebody in the chat said that you are the most family friendly band member, and thank you for being so nice. The fans really appreciate having the connection, and that's really what it is, because you represent, you know, whoever you're playing for, you represent the people around them, and you give people a little bit of hope and a little bit of that connection to that person and to that experience. And band members, I know from when I was young, doing meet and greets and meeting artists that were so sweet, you guys being, you know, one example for me, that gave me so much hope to understand that people didn't become tainted by the industry, and that people wanted to help, and that people saw joy in what they were doing, and therefore the fans want to be part of that with you. And I think on the other end, if people encounter musicians that are rude or don't have time for them or have better things to do, it can cause people, I know it's caused me to look differently at certain artists before.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I've had my experiences with that too. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm absolutely sure. And I think that by carrying that mentality, it makes you successful. It makes everybody successful. Somebody in the chat, Jingle Bo, said they've been to some awkward meet and greets. Yeah, you know, there's people that surprise you. There's people that don't. For me, you know, one of my favorite experiences was the first time I met Vanilla Ice, because I used to work radio back in the day. I used to host radio shows through iHeart. And I had interviewed him once, and all he could do was talk in metaphor. And it was the most fascinating thing ever. And we've done shows together. He does a show down here every year for Little Smiles, and it's a big charity event, and I do it with him it's at Christmas time. It's called Winterfest. And still, it's amazing to be able to see the way that he brings the kids on stage. You know, Steve, you guys bring the kids on stage, and that's something that kids remember for the rest of their lives.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I want to remind you guys to give some questions. Don't just let me be the one asking questions here. I do have some questions that were given to me as well beforehand. So I'm really excited to really get into this. One of the questions that I asked you yesterday that you told me to bring up was, you know, being on the road, being a touring musician, how much of your time do you really think that you spend, you know, what percentage do you think you spend on the road?
Man, with every band it's different. I can tell you numbers. I know that last year I spent 100 days on the road. So that doesn't mean 100 shows, but it means that I was on the road 100 days out of the year. I know this because I was getting ready for taxes and stuff, and I had to do the calculation and see exactly how long I was here, how long I was there, and it came out to exactly 100 days. Some years are busier. Some years are less busy. That was, I would say, 100 days is a medium. It's a good year. It's a medium year.
Yeah. Now, you know, the thing that I asked you yesterday was, you know, what have you really learned to appreciate being on the road about, you know, being home and vice versa? You know, what has it really taught you more than anything else, do you think?
Right. I'm trying to remember what I said yesterday. But
Give me a different answer.
riffing off the top of my head, I think, well, I said being home. I love being home because, you know, my families are my wife and my dog and my cat, my friends, my studio, and I love all of that. But also getting out on the road, I get to meet so many interesting people like yourself and fans, and I get to relax a little because I'm not in the studio. I can't be as busy. I'm still busy. I'm still on the phone planning things for the moment that I come back. I've got a session here. I've got a session there. I have to meet up with that person, take that person out to lunch. We need to talk about this business arrangement. I'm very busy planning for when I'm back in town. But in general, I get to relax a little on the road and really enjoy meeting new people, being new places. So that's the good on both sides. I love the balance. You know, I told you yesterday, I'm a big, it's worked for me, you know, law of attraction and stuff. And I don't know how into that you are.
Very.
Yeah.
Very.
So from 2007, when I left the Guitar Center, just before that, 3 months before that, and since then, My idea of a wonderful, wonderful life is being on a road for a little and coming back and working on some stuff and possibly working with artists that I met on the road, and then going back on the road, maybe with someone else, and then coming back and working on some more stuff. It keeps, it keeps life so interesting when you're not just doing the same thing every day, quarantine included. But it's yeah, it really keeps things fresh when you're just doing different things all the time. Like I could wake up one day and take off for a week on the road for 3 or 4 different shows, and then I could be back for a month and a half, or I could go out for a month and then be back for 2 days and then go out for another month. Like it's all over the place, and it keeps things moving, it keeps things going along, and it keeps things fresh. I love it.
Absolutely. I want to give a shout out to Boo Mitchell, who is in the building and all the way in Memphis. So hello to Memphis and hello to you. And do you think that by keeping that idea, you said that you had this perfect idea of kind of what you wanted to do. Do you think that by keeping that at the forefront of your mind that you were able to attain it that much easier because you really had a clear understanding of what it was?
What's the clear understanding of what it was? I see what you're saying. Like I knew the vision that I had. The law of attraction says that if you do that, then if you keep it in mind and you put the energy towards it, that's what you get. All I can say is that's what I got. I don't know what to attribute it to. I do believe to an extent there is absolutely the focus on on the end goal. I don't know if it's all of that, and I'm not really preaching to it, but it's really worked for me. Really, really worked for me throughout the years.
I love that. I love the idea of kind of beginning with the end in mind and having an idea of where you want to be and what you want to do, and then kind of working backwards from there. And I'm a big, when I do my seminars in schools, because I do the thing that you don't like to do, which is go and talk to kids.
I would love to do it.
If you ever want to get over that fear, you just call me, and you have your people call my people, and we might just have to make something work.
I'm down. I'm just, it scares the crap out of me.
Terrifying. I will tell you. It's one of the scariest things.
You're selling it.
The colleges are not scary. The high schools are scarier. What's scary was I was speaking at elementary, middle, high school, and college. And for me, the younger ones are scary. The elementary school kids, they get it. The middle school kid, they love you because you're there. The middle school kids are the ones that are terrifying. I also had terrible experiences with middle school. So that's probably just a little bit of my, projection on it. But the older kids are really interested in it. And it's so awesome to be able to see the passion that they do have. And you see a lot of people who kind of wake up to the idea of like, okay, I have an idea of what I want to do. I understand what I want to do. I need to figure out how to get there. And you've got a lot of people that are doing soul searching, which is really, really awesome. And one of the things that I preach a lot, kind of getting back to the point, is the idea of the difference between living and existing is purpose, and really kind of figuring out what it is that sets your soul on fire and makes you want to get up every day. And it's the first thing that you want to do. And it's what you want to get everything else done with before to be able to do this, to be able to dedicate your time to it. And I think that when people really put the focus on that it's easier for them to find it.
I would have to agree, but it worked for me. It works for you. Can it work for everyone? I don't know, because you really have to have the mindset. You really have to have the mindset. You know what? Thinking about topics to talk about in the videos that I'm putting up on YouTube on my channel for young musicians, for those of you who don't know that are just joining or whatever. One of the things my manager, my friend Christy, asked me was how do you get motivated? Like, because she wants to do a thing about motivating people. And I said, I don't know. It's a very natural thing for me to just be motivated. I get up in the morning, I walk into the studio, and I go. I don't know any other way. Of course, in the past, I can tell when it's really gloomy. My wife will tell you, when it's really gloomy, 3 days with some gloom, I'm just like, yeah, whatever, just turn on the TV. I just lose it. I lose it. But in that case, I just let myself be there for a moment, and then I get my motivation back. I've never had to be like, come on, dude, get out of it, get out of it.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky in that way. I don't suffer from depression. I don't like so many people have it so hard, and I don't know if I'm the right guy to tell them how to get out of it because I can't see it from their mind. I've never experienced that, thankfully. So I'm just motivated naturally.
Yeah, well, the Jingle Bow in the chat said that unfortunately, motivation is something that is found, not learned. I think it's always exceptions to the rule, and there's that self-discipline that I think, especially people who have suffered from waves of depression and anxiety. Through my adolescence, I went through waves of depression, and I went through issues with mental health, and it's really one of those things where you have to have the dedication to yourself, and you really have to make the promise to yourself that when I get into these places, I'll allow myself, like you said, you allow yourself to sit in that feeling, but then you eventually kind of ride the wave out of it. And
Yeah,
by
exactly.
bottling all of that emotion up, people get so overwhelmed and they just don't know how to cope with it. All right, we got the first. I've been sitting with this question here.
How do you do that? That's awesome. You have to show me how to do
Right
that.
there.
I didn't realize this till last time. Okay, so I think this is the fourth one that I've done, and it's been really hard for me. I've learned, and I'm the millennial generation, so I should know how to do this stuff, but I'm just here. Apparently you can Q&A, and so you got the, what is the best place to play a show at?
What was the best place to play a show at? For me, there are a few. We did 45,000 with Enrique in Israel, which is where I'm from. So going back there and playing Parque Hayalcon Park to 45,000 people was insane. What an accomplishment! Then there was Kiev. We played to 85,000 in 30-degree weather outside in a stadium. That was those are some memorable moments.
Oh, I'm sure. Have you had any crazy experiences on the road where you guys have had unexpected crowds, or you have gone to some place where you didn't really know if the crowd was going to be great and it kind of exceeded your expectations or anything like that? Any kind of unexpected moments on the road? I'm sure there's a lot of them.
Yeah, but to be honest, and this is interesting because you come from the artist perspective and I come from the hired gun, which means basically, for those of you who don't necessarily know, that just means I get paid to go out there and perform. Now, I happen to love it, so you see it when I'm on stage. You see that I'm
You
having
have
a great
so
time.
much energy. It's the greatest thing ever. You are so much fun to watch on.
Thank you. Well, I have a great time. So what you see is what you get. I mean, what you see is who I am. I'm just having a great time. I happen to be hired to be doing that. They're paying me to do that. But so when I get on stage, I'm not necessarily expecting worst or best. I just know that I'm getting out there and giving it 110%. That's it. Surprising, I don't know. I mean, I can probably say that the first few times I played with Enrique was like, whoa. Because his fans are a lot. I mean that in a good way. Like, they are intense. But yeah, other than that, I can't really think. Like, I can't think off the top of my head of a time where I got on stage and was expecting like, nah, I don't know about this, and then it was amazing. No, I take that back. Actually, I just saw someone from New Zealand. The last shows we just did 3 shows in New Zealand in January, with a few other bands, including Billy Idol and a few other ones.
Awesome.
And those shows, we were the first band, so it's a festival. They're starting at around 11 o'clock in the morning and going till 7 p.m., I believe. So it's kind of a different time frame there. Beautiful days. It was summertime. 3 shows outdoors. Each one was 18,000 people, 15,000 people, and another one was like 17,000 people. And I thought to myself, man, we're the first international act out of 5. There's going to be like 3,000 people there. Like, I know it's going to be empty. Every show, we went out there and it was packed. So noon already had 18,000 people. Like that's not how it would be in America. In America, they'd be showing up for the night. Billy Idol goes on at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, whatever it was. They'll be showing up at 5 or 4:30 and slowly trickling in. And we'd have 3,000-4,000 people in an 18,000 people field. But no, I walked out there and I was like, whoa, dude, really? Like, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. They're all drunk and ready to go. Wow. I was impressed. So yeah.
That's exactly where you want to play, where the people are there and they want to.
Nikki says, yeah, Nikki says Queenstown, New Zealand show was fantastic. Smash Mouth smashed Billy Idol. Yeah, she was there. So yeah, that was the most shocking to me because I just didn't expect it. I was like, we're going on at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's an hour set, a full set, but yeah, there's not. It's gonna look empty for sure, and it was packed.
Awesome. That's so fun. That is so fun. And it's great to have those little gems. And I've got a bunch of questions here, so I want to make sure. Is it better for fans to be more numerous or more active?
What does to be normal?
The question is more of like, is it better to have quality or quantity at a show?
Can we have both? I mean, I love... Look, there's definitely something about a lot of people in the crowd, but I think if there's less people in the crowd, but they know every song they know every lyric to every song, it's even more impactful and it's more driving when you're on stage. Like I know when I go to a Smash Mouth show, when I go play a Smash Mouth show, everyone's gonna be up for All Star, everyone's gonna be up for Believer and Walking on the Sun and stuff like that. Like everyone's gonna be screaming and singing along, but do they know Roadman? Do they know Digging Your Scene? Not necessarily. So when I see people just standing up singing Digging Your Scene with us, which is such a rock and, I'm having a blast on stage, and to see them, I'm like, oh, there's some people that know this song here. Like real fans, not just Shrek fans, not just Believer and All-Star, but they're actually fans here that know it. So I think that's even more driving than the quantity.
Oh, definitely. And something that I've always loved about Smash Mouth and something I was really excited about, opening for you guys and then becoming friends with you guys and popping in on shows, getting calls from the manager like, hey, we're playing at this place. Why don't you come down? It was really cool because I was a fan of y'all's, beforehand, and to be able to, I knew the albums and I knew the songs and you guys would play songs and the next one I knew and the next one I knew. And that's something that's really cool. And I think that it's great that music, people are still into it. I remember going up to Michigan and seeing you guys play Under the Sun, and to see, guys like Sugar Ray and Vertical Horizon and Fastball and y'all play and to have this kind of fire lit under this music that's years old that a lot of the newer generation doesn't really know is really, really cool. And to be able to kind of keep that alive is so awesome.
Man, those were fun tours. I miss those. I hope we get to perform this year, and I hope to be back at it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And one of the other things that was really cool, yesterday we talked a lot about, people think that it was really cool for you to mention, being on the road is almost like a little bit of a vacation because you get to catch up on a lot of things. And I think that the thing that my manager and I talk about it all the time whenever we do these school tours, it's so great to be able to kind of feel like you're recharging, to feel like you're getting a little bit of a vacation, but you get to still do what you love. And I think that, going along with that, have you experienced, was it something that you really kind of learned how to do? Did you kind of learn how to treat it as a vacation? Did you experience any sort of burnouts? Because you have a lot of artists that after a period of time, musicians and artists will experience burnout and they'll have to take a break. So was kind of treating it like a vacation something that came naturally, or did you have to shift your mindset?
No, it came naturally. I mean, my burnout is here at home in the studio because I actually got burnt out. I was creating from 2006 all the way to 2014. Songs, hundreds of songs, with and writing with multiple co-writers and producing and everything. And beginning in 2015, I want to say, or maybe it was 2014, I think. I was burnt out. I was like, I just don't want to, like every day, you know that motivation we spoke about? Just, I get up in the day, I go to the studio. Didn't want to do it anymore. And again, I acknowledge that I'm a little burnt out, and I took a break. I took a break for about, I want to say 2.5, 3 years or more. And then I came back. I actually sold all my songs, sold my whole catalog, bought some houses in Missouri, and then decided to get back to it a few years ago, and been going hard since. So for me, I literally spend about especially this quarantine now, I spend about 16, 18-hour days in the studio. And so naturally, so I don't watch TV. I don't watch Tiger King. Is that what it's called?
I don't know. I haven't watched it. I have the little pet.
I don't get to watch. So that's what you're talking about. Is like I said yesterday during the live. When I get on the road, it's like I'm in an airplane. What am I gonna do? I'll listen to some music. I'll listen to some podcasts. I don't get to listen to music much when I'm in the studio producing and recording all day. I don't get to watch TV. So, you know what? I'm in a different time zone. It's 2:00 in the morning. I'm awake. What should I do? I don't know. Watch Netflix. I haven't watched it in like a month and a half. Let's turn it on. See what everyone was talking about. So yeah. To me, it's just I'm at a hotel. Let's just relax. Watch some TV. What am I gonna do? Record another song? No. Let's relax and watch some TV. I don't know. I think it came naturally to me because I couldn't do anything else.
Absolutely. I want to remind everybody that's joining us right now. Welcome. We've got the amazing Sean Hurwitz here. Make sure you get your questions ready. He's absolutely amazing, giving all of y'all and me a little bit of a lesson on life in the music industry from a different perspective, which it's always great to gather as many perspectives as you can. It's crazy that you mentioned that. I remember being in Michigan and trying to say bye to everybody, and you had disappeared, and you were on the bus. And I remember coming to find you, and you were just kind of away from everybody else.
Yeah, it happens.
And, is something that I think is really cool, and I won't forget that, because that's kind of like, I feel like sometimes you have to kind of separate yourself, and when you're able to kind of understand when you need to pull away or when you kind of need some time to yourself, it makes it that much easier. It keeps you from that burnout that we were talking about. It keeps you from overextending yourself, and it allows you to really maintain a fresh energy. And and so we did get a question that I think is really, really important, and it pertains to the quarantine. How bad is the current world situation affecting the music world? What is your perspective on how this is affecting music?
I mean, we went from 100 to 0 right now. There's nothing going on as far as live shows. As far as live shows, there's just nothing going on. And I talked to a lot of musicians, and we're all, I'm sure you are as well, all wondering, like, are we going to get, eventually we're going to get back on the road, but is it going to happen this year? Are we only going to be able to perform in front of 200 people max? Like, you know, for instance, Enrique. I don't play with Enrique currently, but he's got a tour coming up in September, October. I don't know. I know there are a few fans, Enrique fans here, so I wonder what they're going to say. But I wonder if it's going to happen, because that's an arena tour. You need 10,000 to 23,000 people to fill up those places. Are people going to have the money? Are people going to have the money even if we're back to work by August? Everyone, the economies are all better, which is not going to happen. But let's say that happened. Everyone's back to work. Are people going to be spending money on going to that size shows? I don't know. Maybe being with Smash Mouth at this point, where we can do smaller rooms, where we can do casinos, maybe that'll be helpful for the career, because we'll actually have more shows, because people want to. I don't know, but I will say I wrote a small article for a friend of mine is a journalist for some Israeli Jewish newspapers, and she asked me to write a little blurb with some other people that she asked about how it's affecting our lives. And I said, look, the last show I did was in front of 250 people in Washington, I want to say, because that's when, that day we got there, we landed, and that day it went into effect, 250 people max in one room.
Yes.
So I played to 250 instead of like 1,000. And that was the last show that I did. Everyone had a great time. And you know what? Right now we're at a break, but I really do feel like people need live shows. People want to go out and they want to perform and they want to rock out and they want to sing and they want to drink and they want to have a great time. They want to be entertained. So I believe we're going to get back to entertaining. The question is how fast. That's on the live side. Studio-wise, I think there's a lot of creating going on. I think a lot of people are practicing. I think a lot of people are coming up with stuff. So there's definitely an uptick in the amount of music being recorded and made, just not performed.
Absolutely.
You know, I was talking to a very dear friend of mine, producer and young songwriter, who's actually in the chat. Her name is Verona. She is fantastic. We were talking about this just last Friday on how a lot of people are reconnecting. You know, people that, you know, you didn't have the opportunity, you didn't have the time, or you didn't have the chance to really work with. We now have the opportunity to do that. But I think it's really interesting when you think about the perspective of playing big arena shows versus playing smaller shows, and how it's really, how different the impact is going to be, because especially with the economic impact, how people may not be spending, you know, $50, $100, $200 on a concert ticket, but playing the smaller shows. I think that there is this desperate need right now for live music. People didn't really appreciate it quite as much until it was gone, and having the arts disappear, thinking about the arts being pulled out of schools. And I mean, what are most people leaning on? Netflix, you know, streaming shows, watching movies, listening to music. That's what people are occupying their time with, which is all the arts. So I think that there is going to be kind of a resurgence in the value of it and the demand for it. But it's just, again, yeah, you're right. It is about how soon and what the crowds are going to be like. Are people going to be afraid of going out, seeing live, being close to other people, or are they going to put their desire for it above that?
Well, I can tell you right now, even now, there are people who are just like, Corona schmarona, whatever. So there are people that are not going to care. Let's go get drunk and have fun with Smash Mouth or Enrique. And there are people that are going to be like, look, I really wanted to go. I already bought the ticket, but I just don't feel comfortable. So there's going to be, you know, there's going to be both. I wonder what we're going to see. I don't know. Also, the people that are being affected by this, all the venues, like how many venues are not going to be able, like if there's a year that goes by before we get back into business, how many of these venues are going to shut down? I don't know. But we're still in the middle of it, so it's hard to tell, but it's going to have a hard impact.
Absolutely. Jingle Bow says, a lot of artists are building squads with fans. Appreciate the folks who choose you over other live streams. I think that that's a really, you know, shout out to all of y'all that are here, all of y'all that have tuned in to both me and Sean's little live streams. It's great to see that people are connecting with their fans in a different way. But I think also you have to be smart about how you do it, because the social media is kind of just oversaturated with this right now. And unless you have a purpose behind it, then it's really kind of, you know, it becomes lost in the mix. And the reason that I created this platform right here was really to be able to have a safe place for people to gather and feel like they could let out their struggles, the issues that they were having, to understand that they're not alone, to understand, you know, the mental, you know, capacity of what's going on, to understand that it's completely normal to have these emotions, but also to gain some motivation and inspiration and kind of be the best version of themselves that they can be through all of this, because it's harder for some people than others. It is rough. And I've ridden those peaks and valleys through this whole quarantine crisis, whatever. But I think that if you provide a place where people feel like they're not alone, then in an authentic way, then people gather. Just the same way as if you provide a place where you're saying, I want people to learn, I want people to understand the knowledge that I have, I want to share the knowledge that I have. People are going to flock to that because they know that it's sincere. People can read through BS very easily.
Well, you know that's a great point, though. I'm in a place right now where I'm always thinking about what value we spoke about. This, what value can I bring to other people? I think I'm putting out good content online. I mean, for those of you who don't know, YouTube, just YouTube Sean Hurwitz, and you'll see what I've been putting out. But basically, I put out things like my next video is about contracts. You spoke about that. You spoke about how crazy it is. I met a musician not too long ago. He reached out to me and he was really excited. He signed this contract and he it just wasn't a very good contract. And I explained to him. My wife joined. Hey, baby.
I see that. I just waved at you.
You know, it wasn't a very good contract, but it wasn't a bad contract. It's just. When I asked him about it, he didn't seem to know the answers. And he said, I think I was a little naive and I signed this too fast. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have signed it. I would have just, but as you'll see when I put out the contract, basically it's contract 101, right? And it's terms and language that you need to know when you're looking at a contract. And it's just some basic stuff that'll help you sift through 8 pages or 15 or 1 page of contract. You know, it's some important things to know. But I also put stuff up there about being a musician. My last one was never been on a tour bus, or first time on a tour bus, here's what you need to know. Like there's a bunch of information for musicians to really get a lot of knowledge, and I really hope people are getting it. But on your point, people flock to it. Well, the problem that I've been having is I don't feel like I'm reaching the right people yet, and I've been thinking maybe you can give me advice, and maybe your fans can give us advice about how do you find, like I've been on Reddit, I've been letting people know, people that I think would be looking for that information, that it's there, it's free, it's there. All you have to do is go look at it. But I don't know how to reach the masses and let young musicians know this. Do you have any ideas?
It's crazy to think about that, because sometimes I find myself falling in the same vein of saying, okay, there's this knowledge that's here. How do I get it out to the right people? And I think that, you know, that networking really comes in handy with me saying, you know, I've shared the links to what you're doing with a lot of people. There's people that can learn from it in a weird way. I feel like there's this, it feels like people want to get lost in mindlessness on social media. So you really have to get them with something cool like this. The last video that you posted about the tour bus, you said that the bus was from the 2017 tour with Enrique, right?
The one at the end, yeah, I took a video, and my wife, I was like, do you have any footage of the buses that I send you? Because I don't take that much footage. I just take it for her. And she found that video of a bus from 2017 tour with Enrique Iglesias.
That's awesome. And that kind of stuff is really where you kind of capture them. And I think that, everybody in the chat saying that they like me, and if I say that you're awesome, they'll check it out. He's awesome. He's amazing. And it's so great. I think that it's great when you team up with other musicians, which is something that I've always loved to do, is really being able to team up with other people, being able to put out, promote other people's stuff. And, you know, because when we work together, especially if we all have the same ideals and the same mission, I feel like, you know, we're stronger together. And by motivating and encouraging and building up people that are good, somehow we'll be able to fish through the nonsense on the internet. There was a girl, it was funny that you mentioned this, because I get frustrated. I get really frustrated a lot of the time, because I am a young woman on social media that's not half naked, that has morals and values, and that is not attractive a lot of the time. And so I get very frustrated, but then I start to look at something like TikTok. A video popped up on my TikTok where a girl said, all right, I've had this page for 6 months and I voiced my opinion and I have 20,000 followers. And 3 weeks ago, I decided to do an experiment and put together a TikTok where I post these stupid videos of me dancing half naked, and the page has 18,000 followers in 3 weeks. And you wonder why people get frustrated with social media. But I think that when people are looking for something, or they go in with intention, they'll find you. It's just about not getting frustrated.
No, there's definitely no frustration. And the beauty of YouTube is that the videos are up there. If fans find, if not fans, if musicians find Jingle Bow was saying that fans recommending things is gold, 100%. And I'm looking to do this as grassroots. That's the saying, right? As grassroots as possible. Like the content is there. Whenever musicians find it and they decide to recommend, I tell people, even if you don't think that it's right for you, recommend it to a musician friend because they would think this is great.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. We have another question in here. Oh Lord, I just turned my thing around. Oh my God, we're about to see my my makeshift stand here. Anyway, what is your perspective on the effect of quarantine on music education?
What's my perspective on the effect of quarantine on music education? I don't know if I have a perspective on that. I'm not really.
I don't either. I think the one thing that I can say about this is I think that people are waking up to what they want to really do. So hopefully this allows people who have not had time or have been, their jobs have overshadowed the idea of like, hey, I want to sit down and learn an instrument or all of these things. I think that this is allowing a lot of people to kind of find their calling because they're forced to stop. My manager does say Facebook groups, performing arts organizations, Stax Music Academy, and Grammy programs.
What about that?
Yeah, I will definitely. I'm actually Stax Music Academy is an academy in Memphis, and then the Grammy Association is actually doing. I was supposed to be doing one this week. They're doing master classes with people.
Oh, awesome.
So you teach master classes, and I think that finding groups like that is really, really advantageous. And I think that once you're able to kind of network in there, they're always looking for people. Music program.
Well, I'll tell your manager to feel free to contact me and let me know if I can help. I'm happy to do some stuff.
He's right there. He's not too far from you. He's over in Burbank. So
there you go. I mean, really close. Daniel, my buddy Daniel Wise, quarantine, he's an incredible guitarist, like insane musician.
Oh, wow.
Says quarantine helped me discover how effective it is to teach groups via Zoom. I know that's something that he's experienced. He's experienced a lot of growth in people are just flocking to him to learn his amazing techniques. Can't recommend him enough. I mean, so yeah, as far as education goes, I think a lot of people are practicing. I think a lot of people are learning stuff, and I hope I can teach them. I'm not necessarily teaching people guitar necessarily, but I'm teaching people other things.
You're teaching him. Yes, I will put you and Jeff in contact. He's saying I will give him your contact, Jeff. For me, it's a matter of, I think that there's this overall perspective of all of the things, the jobs that we didn't think we could work from home, the school that we didn't think we could do from home, this, that, and the other thing we didn't think that we could do from home, we're learning that we can do from home. For example, I have got writers in California, and I've got writers in Nashville, and I've been doing since 2014, we've been doing Skype sessions. But I think that a lot of people now are realizing that it's although you don't get the same product by sending music back and forth to each other, you still are able to work together. And there's a kind of a method to the madness, and there's a way to really be able to collaborate. There's a way to be able to learn. There's a way to be able to teach from afar. Actually, one of the coolest things I ever watched was Joe Walsh was doing a Guitar Center special, and I watched it the day that I saw you guys in Michigan.
Okay.
And he was talking about how the art of, the emotion of music gets lost when you send stuff from one person to the next. And you've got one person feeling one emotion in Texas, and they send it to another person who's in New York feeling something completely different, and something about, that's something that's so special about being able to play live and see a band live, because you get to see everybody really vibe on the same thing. And I think they kind of bring that back.
Well, that being said, sometimes it's really cool to take something that's got one feeling and throw it to the next person who might look at it in a different way and give it a whole new perspective. So, ups and downs, plus and minus.
Absolutely. I think that everything's got pros and cons. And of course, shout out to your wife who popped in. That brings up something that's really interesting to me, and something that I jotted down. Do you really believe, because there's always nobody wants to date the musician, nobody wants to be friends with the musician, nobody wants to do the long distance thing. Do you find, which I have a different perspective on, do you find that it's hard to maintain friendships or relationships, or that it has been hard while on the road? Or do you think that it shows you who's truly there and who's not?
For me, it certainly has not been difficult at all. As far as who's there and who's not, I don't know. I'm the guy that reaches out to people. So I'm always reaching out to people. It doesn't matter where I am. I'm in the studio, I'm on the road. I'm always reaching out to people. I will say this, though. If you're a musician and you're going to spend your life doing this, find a partner that supports you and supports it. Huge, huge difference. One of my exes, had a very hard time when I was on the road. And I remember having a conversation with her when I was on the road. I was outside with some friends hanging out. Now, some people don't know this about, it's not something that everyone knows about me. I don't drink. I've never had alcohol. I don't do any drugs. I don't smoke. I've never done any of that. So I'm like crazy, crazy sober. I don't have any problem with anyone else doing anything else. Doesn't bother me, but I just don't do it. And I remember, I was hanging out at a bar because I hang with the guys. I was hanging out with the guys in a bar somewhere in Middle America. And I remember having a conversation with her, and I had been out for like 3 weeks, and she was just so like depressed and like, when are you coming home? When are you coming home? I was like, listen, I have dreamed to do this. This is why I came to America. Yeah. You gotta let me do my dream, and don't you have something to do? And she didn't. That's the problem, is when you have someone that is so dependent on you, fully dependent on you, it's very hard to do what we do for a living. My wife, on the other hand, is very, 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 has a life of her own. Like, she has a great life when I'm not around. She loves to watch certain shows that I don't like. She loves to eat food that I don't necessarily like. She loves to hang out with her friends. So when I'm not here, she does all of that. And when I'm here, we hang out together. And then I leave for 2 weeks, and she goes and meets up with all her friends and eats some delicious food that I would really not be into. And she has such a, we miss each other, but she's got such a great life, and I've got such a great life, and very, very supportive of each other. So you got to find that. I recommend that to any musicians. Really find a partner that gets what you're about, and do the same to them. Be understanding for them. Be there for them as well.
Absolutely. It's really easy. I've seen musicians, very, very talented musicians in my life, really almost give up on their dream because of a partner, or really kind of shy away from whatever they're doing because of their partner. And I think it's really important to find somebody who's married to kind of the idea of you having this love as well, and really supporting you and being there for you through it, because that's really, and then somebody, like you said, that has a life of their own, that has their own goals and dreams and desires, and wants to do something and has passion for something. Because that, as a musician with so much passion for what we do and loving what we do, I find that for me, I want to find a person, I want to find friends, I want to find people that are doing the same thing, that are passionate and love something in the same ways. So there's that kind of equally yoked kind of energy, because the people around you, you are a sum of the people around you. Something like you are the sum of the 5 people you keep closest. And so if you're surrounded by people that are motivated and that are inspired and that want to continue to be the best versions of themselves and are independent and that have their own lives, I think that really encourages you to be the same.
Absolutely.
Jingle Bow, you are right. Nothing replaces live music and the crowd. Absolutely not. And also I embrace music so much that even if I can't sing or play, I appreciate others' goals. That is awesome. That is awesome. I have always been a creative person, so I know being able to express your love through art is a gift, and why would I take that gift away? You're a gem to this world. How do you find the balance, though, between work and rest? Between, is there a point where you say, this is enough? I mean, you said, you get burnt out at home, but where do you find kind of your recharge time?
I think I really just I have big goals, and then I go 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 go, and then when I have to relax, I relax, and then I go 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 go, and then I relax when I need to. So I really listen to my body. If my body, I'll sometimes wake up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'll try to go to sleep for 5 minutes. And if I have music in my mind, that's it. I wake up and I walk to the studio. My wife already knows she's gonna wake up and I'm not gonna be there. She knows where to find me.
Yeah.
I'm not that far away. But then again, there are days, very rare, but maybe once a week, where I'm just like, you know what? It's 8:30. I don't really feel like waking up right now. I need to sleep. I know my body. I know myself. I need to sleep, and I'll sleep for another half hour. So I think the recharge just happens naturally, and I don't get burnt out at home. I got burnt out at home after 7-8 years in the studio. That could happen to anyone, of just making things every day. But I love being at home. I love creating, and I love producing, and I love recording and doing all of that. But yeah, the recharge happens naturally.
That's wonderful. Now we've got just a few more minutes. I want to ask you the standard question of what, advice would you give, young people with a dream, young musicians, not even just advice, but what are the things that you've learned that you wish you would have known when you were young?
Oh, that's a great question. So number one, I'm going to say, and this is to promote it as well, but really I put this stuff on YouTube. Like literally my first video that I put up for this purpose was 5 things I wish I knew before I became a musician full time, And then the next one was what it's like being a full-time musician, what it's really like being a full-time musician. So it's all on there. So if I miss something here, all you have to do is go check out Sean Hurwitz on YouTube, and I have it out there. And please let me know if you want to know anything else. With that being said, my response to that is, look, I'm just some dude from Israel. I was born in Jerusalem or Rehovot and lived my whole life in Jerusalem, and I'm just some guy. I'm nothing crazy. I'm not like an insane guitarist who just, how does he play? No, I'm good at what I do. I do it very well. But, it's really, I'm just another dude playing guitar. But my point is, if you really have a dream and you follow through and you bring a lot to the table and you really bring added value to whatever it is you do, that's the key. So that's what you need to do. It's not that you have to learn how to play faster and faster and faster, or you have to learn this or to learn that. Learn all of that, but also learn how to add value to every production that you play in, to every band, to every writing session, to every recording. Add value.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Make sure that you follow you everywhere at Sean Hurwitz, correct?
At Sean H Music. Sean H Music. Yeah, and then on YouTube it's Sean Hurwitz Music. Or just look up Sean Hurwitz, you'll find me.
Absolutely. I'm super excited to see that new video, and I will make sure that I post all of your links so people know where to find you. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
It's so wonderful to see different perspective, and I know that I'm walking out of this a little bit more inspired and with a little bit more knowledge, and I hope that the rest of everybody is too.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.